Hello fellow 3D enthusiast, my name is Ian, and today I wanted to share with you a technique for removing somebody's arm. First of all, what we're going to need for this is a tripod shot of somebody acting like an idiot with tape stuck to their arm, and then we're going to want a clean plate of that, so just an image with nobody there. Real quick, the game plan here is going to be to track our footage, mask our footage, and then mix our footage with the image of nothing there. So that's the short version. Let's go ahead and do the long version. I'm going to switch the 3D view to the movie clip editor and open up my image sequence. So here it is. I'm just going to hit A to select everything and then hit enter. And let's just load this in, see how long it is. Yeah, alright, there's the endpoint. We can set that to be our end frame by hovering our mouse over the timeline and going Control and End on the keyboard. Cool. Now it's all loaded into RAM, and it'll run pretty nice and quick. Let's get some tracking done here. First of all, you can see we've got these two tape markers up on the top of the arm here. Then we've got these two useless ones in the hand area. These just don't work for tracking. But, fortunately, I was clenching my fist, so we can track this area. I'm going to hold down Control and then left mouse button to place a tracking marker. Then I'm going to hit E and go track forwards. If you hit L, that'll lock your view to the tracking marker, and you can kind of see it a little bit better, see how it does. Cool. We can hit E and then track it backwards, and it looks like it lost it at this point, so I'm just going to grab it and reset it to there, and hit E and track it backwards again. Alright, you're a tracking master now. Cool. So we can do the same thing to these upper two tracks. It's a good thing I put that Sharpie pen in there. Let's hit S to scale down our track a tiny bit, and then I'm just going to hit E once more and track it backwards. Cool. Well, let's go back to the end frame and just make sure it goes all the way through the footage. Alright, so there's our second track. And what I'm going to do is actually track both of these up here, because we could use both of them. Once again, I'm going to scale this guy down and just go through that same process. Cool, now that's all tracked through the footage. I'm going to hit L to unlock my view. And we can just take a look at these real quick. I think they're looking pretty good. Now let's go up here where it says tracking and switch that to mask. Alright, so I'm going to go up here and hit new. I'm just going to call this arm. Cool, that seems like a good name. And now I'm going to place a few handles for the mask. Just going to start up here right where the arm is going to disappear. I'm going to hold down Control and drag my left mouse button to drag out this handle here. And let's do another one pretty close by, somewhere around here. And then we can just go down the arm. There's a bit of an indent here, so we can do that once more, around about that part. And then one down at the end of the hand. This is going to be a big old one. Then one on the other side of the hand, maybe around here. One more up here, one in the corner. And there we go. If we go Alt-C, that'll close the loop. And we can just adjust this a little bit, make sure it's working well. We always want our mask to line up with this black line up here. Alright, let's feather it. I'm going to go Control and Shift and drag out on one of the handles. And we probably don't want anything too crazy, but we do want a little bit. And also up here, we don't want this feathered. We want it to be a sharp line. So let's drag these control points back down. And now we've got feathering on most of the mask, but not up here near the arm. Now this is looking pretty good, I'd say. I'm going to enable auto keyframes, and let's just select everything with A and hit G to add in a keyframe. And before we go too crazy with anything, I'm going to select these two handles up in the corner here, and then select my tracking marker and go Control P to parent them to it. Let's do that with these two up here, and go Control P. There we go. And these three down here, I'm going to parent to this marker, so I'm going to hit B, and then select that tracking marker, Control P. There we go. Cool. So if we scrub through our footage, you can see we've got some issues, but it's a really good start. So what I'm going to do now is just roughly go through the footage and see where things like this happens, because we don't want our mask to be cutting into the arm at all. And also down here, we don't want the mask to be cutting into the hoodie or pants. So we need to do a tiny bit of work on that. That shouldn't take too long. The really important part is up here next to the sleeve. I know I already said it, but we want to make sure this is always lined up really nicely. And we could probably go back and do some revisions a little bit later. But for now, we're just going to do a first pass where we look for issues with the mask running into things. Let's go back in the footage a little ways and just check. Alright, the mask is behaving. our first issues come when we get to this point here. So let's reset this a little bit. I'm going to bring this out away from the arm. And up here in the corner, this also needs to be brought out a little ways. And we need to realign these top 2 points. That's all set there. Let's see if it messes up anymore. Here's a good spot. We probably want to rearrange stuff a little bit. Let's remember to reset these handles up here. Another cool thing that I didn't know about for a long time is you can actually just grab the line and that'll warp the controllers to your will. So if you need to kind of line it up here, you can, or down here, that works too. All right, I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit and get it to cut in a tiny bit more. Cool, that frame's all set. All right, right about here, it's starting to misbehave again. We're running into the hoodie. So I'm going to realign the elbow controllers. Okay, here it is. Let's just make sure this is a little bit closer to the arm. And we also don't want it to be cutting into the hand at all. So I'm going to put the control point down here, make it a little bit wider. That's looking pretty good. Nice. All right. Next up, let's just go down the way a little bit more. You can see at this point it runs into it again. We can fix that. We've got the technology. At this point it comes pretty close, but I think we're good. Let's just tighten it up a little bit. I'm going to make sure this is just a little bit closer to the hand. And whenever we adjust one thing, we want to make sure that everything else is good because it adds in keyframes for everything else. So I'm just going to check up here again. It's looking pretty good. Cool, that looks good. All right, so we've got the major issues out of the way. We've got one issue now, and that is just that this elbow is not always matching up throughout the whole shot. And that's something we really do want to fix because we want this to be nice and tight right up to the sleeve the whole shot. So what I'm going to do now is just go in between keyframes to points where it's kind of being a troublemaker and readjust it just so that it's sticking to the right area throughout the whole shot. And I'm not going to make you watch this whole thing in real time because it's kind of boring, but something that is really important that we definitely do need to do. Cool, that's actually looking pretty dang good, I'd say. There might be a few issues, but I'd say for now that can be, we could call that good. Well, with the mask complete, we are almost done. Now it's just time to go into compositing and do some magic. So I'm going to go up here to the corner and just switch this to the compositing tab, which is somewhere. Here it is, compositor. If we go up here and check use nodes, let's also hit N to get that out of the way. We can kind of spread these out a little bit. We don't need the render layers node. We just need to go Shift A and add in an input movie clip. Let's see, we've already got one, so that's cool. And with this guy, we're also going to want to add in a image. Let's hit open here, and this is when we're going to find our clean plate, and that's just the image. All right, now with node wrangler enabled, if we go Control and Shift and click on this, nothing will happen. That's because our backdrop isn't enabled, so I'm going to hit backdrop up here, and hey, there it is. So let's put in a mix node here. I'm going to go Shift A, color, and mix. And let's also take this image from our movie clip and put that into the top. If we also add in a Shift A input mask, then we can get our arm mask here and drop that right into the factor. And look at that. He's missing an arm. One quick fix that I think we should do that's kind of bothering me at the moment. If we go into the render properties, down into color management, we can see the view transform is set to filmic. So I'm going to set that to standard and things get a little bit more vibrant, which is good. And let's just take a quick look at this. It's a little bit hard to see, but doing a practice run, I realized that our image is a little bit more blue than our footage. You can kind of see that if I switch between here. So I'm going to do a tiny bit of color correction. I'm going to go Shift A, Converter, and RGB Curves. I'm going to drop that on top of our image. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see what's going on here. But yeah, clean plate, RGB Curves, into the mix node. And from back here, you can actually really see the blue tint. So in my curves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the blue channel and just take it down a little ways until things look like they actually belong. And I think that's pretty good looking. Maybe we could even go a little bit more. There. I'd say that's probably good. Now let's make sure that we hook our mix node up to our composite, or else we won't get anything when we render it out. And I'm going to hold down shift and right click and drag through these, and that'll just make a nice little Y. And here's our final node setup. And there is the missing arm. Alright, that's a pretty nice result. So I'm thinking this will be our first step in giving this guy a robotic arm. But first, before we add the robotic arm, obviously we need to take care of the arm that's still there. So that's what this tutorial is for. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, and you're interested in learning more about visual effects in Blender, I've created a completely free video for you that goes into 5 tips for integrating your CG creations into real-life footage. If you're interested in that video, there's a link in the description. Once again, completely free. Go ahead and give that a click. But hey, I'd say that wraps things up here. I hope you have an excellent day, and cheers!